guys, Tammy here again with the next episode about the ancient Greeks. And this particular episode, it's all about China and how the ancient Greeks influenced the Chinese. So, Alexander the Great again features prominently because the city called Alexandria Escate, which meant Alexandria the furthest, was the furthest, most easternmost city that Alexander the Great had founded. And the Chinese also had a named city. The Chinese also had a city that many think represents Alexandria Escate. And the name that they used was Da Yuan. Da for big or great, and Yuan in place of Ionian, which also meant Greek. So the big great city, who knows? But the one thing that they had there that the Chinese really wanted were horses that were called the Fergana horses. The Chinese called them heavenly horses. So a very famous Chinese traveler and explorer was going through the city. His name was An Qian. And he noticed that the horses that they were raising, how beautiful they were. And he had the idea that maybe the emperor of the Han dynasty, his name was Wudi, would be interested in these horses. So he reported it back to the Chinese emperor that this city had these horses. So the Han emperor sent an envoy to this city with 1,000 pieces of gold and a golden horse. And the king of that city killed the whole envoy. Obviously kept the money, the gold, and all that. So the Chinese emperor, that was a big mistake on his part, because the Chinese emperor sent 100,000 soldiers back to the city. And this time he conquered the city. But before he conquered the city, some of the story goes that the people in the city gave up the king by serving his head to the emperor in order for him to not burn the city to the ground. And so after that, not only did he take horses, but after that, every year, this city had to send a bunch of horses to the emperor as a gift. Another connection of the Greeks in this part, in the Fergana Valley and also towards China, was their heavy influence on Buddhism. And the version of Buddhism that traveled to China became or was called Mahayana Buddhism. So the Greeks influenced this form of Buddhism with their love of making statues. As I have mentioned in another episode, Buddha himself had explicitly left instructions that he was not to be made into anything, into any likeness, not in paper, not as a drawing, not as a sculpture. But with the influence of the Greeks, that's where we see the first statues with a Greek flavor and a Hellenic flavor in the statues, because they translated or they brought in some of their pantheon of gods from the Greek mythology into Buddhism. Okay, so the influence of the Greeks with Buddhism became more prominent with Menander, but also through the Kushan monks, which were apparently, they were Greek. So these monks traveled into the Chinese city of Layan, and this is where the scriptures of Buddha, or the Buddhist scriptures, got translated into Chinese. Interesting story is that in 1974, a farmer discovered the ancient tomb of an emperor, Chinese emperor, and that's where they discovered over 8,000 ceramic clay soldiers, life-size. It's the biggest to date mausoleum. It apparently was 35 square miles, and that it could have been a larger mausoleum, except that maybe they stopped after the death of the emperor, because they found a lot of empty spaces that hadn't been filled yet. So it's possible that it would have been larger than 35 square miles, but it took maybe 2 to 3 decades to build. So the name of the emperor was Qi Shi Huang, and this is from 210 BC. And also, you might think, what does this have to do with the Greeks? Well, The pottery and the sculptures that they discovered in this mausoleum have not been found before or after to this day. But what was very interesting about them was that Chinese art was miniature mostly. This was the first time that they had made life-size statues. And that, coupled with the fact that the type of clay that they were using in order to throw these statues and the way that they were being sculpted, also the fact that they found European DNA in the mausoleum was very telling about the fact that there was Europeans there. But what made it Greek was the Greek art was very prominent at that time, and the Greek artists were very clever in throwing statues. So it's according to National Geographic and the Smithsonian, in their opinion, there would have been Greek artists that were there teaching the local artists how to make these statues, these life-size statues, which after that were never seen again. They have never found in Chinese culture any art that was life-sized again. It's very important to remember this was 210 BC, before the start and the popularity of the Silk Road. So in terms of art, in terms of religion, and of course in the DNA, there's very much a lot of evidence. There's a lot of evidence to show that ancient Greeks had a very heavy influence and also interaction and intermarriage with the Chinese. And so what this proves is that we're all human and that we've been traveling for thousands of years. Obviously, after 2,000 years, a lot of art has been lost, a lot of DNA has been watered down, but there's still a little bit of evidence to show that humans have been migrating, immigrating, crossing man-made borders for thousands of years for whatever reason. We are basically human, and that we've been interacting, and it's normal. So that basically is the bottom line here, that we're human and the lines of the borders are man-made. So after 2,000 years, obviously a lot of history and art has been lost. But if you look very closely at the religion, at the art that we still have found today, and even in the DNA, you will see the interaction of the Greeks with the Chinese. And I just find history is very interesting, and we shouldn't make such a big deal about the man-made borders. That's all I have for today. I hope you subscribe. I hope you follow and share, and click on the button to notify you in order for you to see more episodes. I might be going further west for the next episode, so stay tuned. You never know. But history, like I said, is very interesting. So I'll see you again on the next episode.